Okay, so for this one, we're going to talk about different math functions in Java. So the first one we're going to talk about is, hold on, let me go zoom out a bit. All right, so the first one is Math.sin, okay? And inside we will put like a radian value, and it would give us a value output. And we can set this to be like we can set this to a variable. Like for example, if you want to have x equal to it, so we would do this. Double x equals math.sin, okay? And then we will put like, I don't know, let's say 3.14159 and get its output. And it only takes radian values. So if you put like in a degree value, it's gonna think that it's a radian value and give you an output based on that. So the next one is math.cosine. So it'll be cos, and then you would put a radian value in. And then the third one is tan. Okay. Now, if you want to convert from radians to degrees, what you would do is this. So you would use the Math.to Degrees function. So you would do Math.toDegree. And inside here, you would put your radian value, and then it would show you what the value is in degrees. Okay. And furthermore, if you don't want to work with our radian values here and you want to work with degrees, then you could use the Math.toRadians method. So you would put in Math.toRadians. And then you would put in your degree value here. Then this function takes care of it and turns it into a radian, and then the tan part executes. There's also the following. Math.asin, and here you put in like a value, and it gives you an output in radians. So A means arc. So like this is pretty much sine inverse. Then this next one is a cos. This is cos inverse. And the third one is a tan inverse. Then the next few ones we're going to talk about, it's the Math.exp one. Okay, so this one tells us the value of e to the power of x. So if let's say we put 2 here, then it's going to be e to the power of 2, and then it gives us that value. Then the next one we've got is Math.log. This gives you the natural log of a value. So the natural log of x, it's going to display whatever value that's going to be equal to. The next one is a Math.log 10. This gives you the value of log with the base of 10. Okay. Then we have another function, Math.pow. This is where you put in two numbers, let's say x and y, and it tells you and you get an output of what x to the power of y will be equal to. So let's say we set this as int z, and x is 2 and y is 3, then z will be equal to 8. Okay, because 2 to the power of 3 is 8. Now the next one we're going to talk about is Math.absolute or Math.abs. So this gives us the absolute value of something. So if you put in -5, for example, your output is 5. Now we're going to go on about rounding. So there's something called Math.ceil. This rounds a value up. So let's say you put in 2.1. Okay, this rounds a value up to 3. Okay, 3.0. Now then there's Math.floor. Okay, this rounds a value down. So if you have like 2.6, it rounds it to 2.0. Okay. Now there's Math.toDegrees. Math.rint. What this does is it does your typical rounding. So if you like 2.1, for example, it rounds it to 2.0. If you have 3.9, it rounds it to 4.0. But the thing is when you're in a halfway point. So if you have an odd halfway point, so like 3.5, it's going to round it up to 4.0. But if you have an even half value, so like 2.5, it's going to round it down to 2. And then finally, there's the Math.round function. This is how we expect rounding to work. So if you have like, let's say 2.1, it rounds it to 2. If you have 3.9, it rounds it to 4. And if you have a halfway point, a lot of us have been taught to round it up. So it will also give you 4. Okay. And this one returns in a double value, and this one returns in an integer value. Okay. Now we have two more we're going to discuss. It's Math.max. This is where we put in 3 different values. Or sorry, a finite amount of values. It can be 2, 3, 4 is your choice, and it determines which one is the maximum one. So if you have like 2, 10, and 7, it's going to print out 10, or it's going to equal to 10. Then there's the last one, Math.min. It finds the least value of like a given amount. So pretty much the least value here is 2, so it's going to be equal to 2.